right, welcome to Econ Nerds, Econ podcast for Econ Nerds by Econ Nerds. I'm your host, Matt Hill. With me, Ariel Slonim. Ariel, how are you?
Doing great.
How do you like my attempt at a beard? Every once in a while, I try to grow out my facial hair just to see if things have gotten better as I've aged. Because you're supposed to be able to grow more as you age, but it's
so far it's looking scruffy. Give it some time.
This is time, though. This I've given it time, and this is like 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's much more to be mined here. All right. Anyways, start with a big econ topic of the week. I don't know. There's multiple big econ topics, but we thought we'd talk the tariff pause. Ariel, can you tell the people or tell me what is going on with the tariffs?
So last week, tariffs were paused by the courts. They were ruled unconstitutional. But on appeal, the federal government won a stay. So that means that currently tariffs are in place as the courts continue to review those tariffs and the constitutionality of them.
So was it one court? There were like two courts that said, hey, these tariffs are illegal. And just to give some background.
There are two cases. So there are two cases that are being combined. There's a case brought by Oregon and I believe 12 states in total. And then there's also a case that Ilya Somin was bringing along with another group. And so they've been kind of combined because they challenge the constitutionality of the emergency tariffs.
Right. So Trump enacted the Liberation Day tariffs under this like 1977 law that gave the president, I guess, emergency powers on tariffs. Like in the event of an emergency, you could do tariffs. And the Constitution's like, you can't do tariffs, right? Am I getting that right?
So the argument, there's a couple constitutional arguments. One is that tariffs are a tax that should then be imposed by Congress because taxes are supposed to be imposed starting on the House of Representatives. The other is a doctrine called non-delegation, where if that's the power of Congress to regulate trade, to impose taxes, then that can't be delegated to the president.
Okay. And so right now, I guess it's for the courts to decide. And these courts are like, no, the president can't do these tariffs. But then there was a stay where it's like, yes, he can for now until we figure this out. Until I guess the Supreme Court figures it out. Is that where we're going?
I think that's eventually where it will head. I'm not sure if the next step is the Supreme Court or if there's an in-between step.
Okay. So, but right now we're just in the zone that we've been in basically for, I don't know, 5 months now, zone of uncertainty where it's like, who knows what the end result of these tariffs are. Now, that obviously that makes doing business hard. If you're you're trying to figure out, I have friends with small businesses who are like trying to import things from China. They're like, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's not going to be. My bill's always changing. So this is not great. Uncertainty is not great for business. Presumably, hopefully there will be some certainty at some point. But then right now the tariffs are back on.
Yes.
So what I was interested in is like, what is the economic, like ostensibly this is an economics podcast. So like, what is the economic argument for like the president being able to do tariffs? Like what would be the like econ argument for the president having that power? Do you have any sense of that, Ariel?
I was trying to look into this. I think that the argument in favor of the president negotiating tariffs is that he can negotiate better as one single person, right? It's not one argument that ChatGPT told me that I don't buy is that it's less likely to have individual carve-outs. So instead of, congressmen lobbying and getting an exemption to a tariff for their hometown good or service, the president is going to impose a blanket tariff. I don't think that's true of what we've seen so far with tariff policy, so I don't buy that argument. But the idea is that if it's a tool in negotiations for international trade, in international kind of relations is the role of the president, and so you really want them to be able to have that tool in negotiation is kind of your best case argument. But I don't know if that becomes an economic argument or if that's more a political power argument.
Yeah. So backing up on the one you were talking about with like, there may be, if you have the president do is you're sort of less subject to special interests. So there's this idea in economics about concentrated benefits and diffuse costs. Like, all right, like this particular group, really stands to benefit from a particular policy. So they're going to lobby hard for it. And the people that are going to be harmed by that policy are a bigger group, and they're going to be harmed like a little bit. And so they're not going to know it that much. That's like the diffuse costs. Concentrated benefits, like the small group's really going to benefit. And so this is how like a lot of laws come about that are, in the aggregate, say lower surplus or are inefficient because there's a small group that benefits. And so they're highly motivated to get this thing passed. And so this, up until like, I would say this administration, this is like the history of tariffs in the US is you have like these small groups lobbying for it, getting their carve outs or getting the tariffs on their competition. It's a classic example. I could see the argument that, if you have Congress doing tariffs, they're going to be more susceptible to that because their constituents may be part of this concentrated group. Like if you're representing sugar farmers, your sugar farmers are going to be like, hey, hook this up. And so you're going to be highly motivated to get them their protection, right? And the other Congress people are going to be like, who cares? I don't know, whatever. So sugar's more expensive. So I could see that argument. You don't buy that argument. Why? Because we've seen like carve outs, like basically special companies being able to go to Trump and get a carve out.
I think there's that risk. I'm trying to think of a specific example, but I think we've also seen the reverse where Trump has threatened specific tariffs on Apple. So
right.
That seems like the reverse of getting a good deal is playing hardball with one particular company and singling them out for a tariff.
Yeah. I think from an economic standpoint, the argument for, a president having the tariff power is just, it's maybe more efficient, gets things done faster, if you're in a trade war or something like that. And the argument against it is, all right, well, if you have Congress do it, it's going to slow things down. It's going to be more deliberate, which is if you think tariffs are bad, which I would say like 95%, 99% of economists do, then you sort of you want with Congress where it's like less likely to get done or like it's going to take more deliberation. I could see the argument where it's like it gives more negotiating power. If you're trying to negotiate some sort of trade deal, like if you then say, okay, we negotiated this deal, but now I got to go get it ratified by Congress, it slows things down. I mean, with any of these things where it's like, all right, should the president do this or should this be like more broadly distributed? It's like, well, if you have a president you like who has the policies you like, then I guess you're going to favor the president doing it. But it doesn't seem like there's really much of like an econ logic for having this power vested in the president to me. Other big question is like, if you sort of the trend has been that Congress has had like less and less power over time, which seems weird to me. Like, why would a group want less and less power? It seems very strange that anybody would like willfully, give up power. And it seems like that's what Congress has done. It's like they're willfully giving more and more powers to the president or just basically not doing anything.
Well, I think they've also delegated to other agencies. And I think they've done this in a way to kind of shield themselves from blame. So if you delegate decision making to a different entity and it goes the way you would like it, but not the way your constituents would, you can blame it on the agency. And you can say, well, the EPA made the regulation to be very strict, and we understand that it's bad for your business. And then that you can push that blame maybe somewhere else. If there's pushback or additional costs from, say a more strict environmental regulation, as an example.
Yeah.
I think they're shielding themselves so that they can get reelected.
Yeah. Well, I think this is just a classic example of a collective action problem, what we call a collective action problem, where these individual incentives are not aligned with like the overall incentive. And so if you think of like the individual congressperson, their main incentive is to just get reelected. And what we've seen is basically more and more districts have become like safe districts, like one party districts. I think it's gone from like 20% to 60%. And so you're basically, you just got to win the primary. So you got to worry about like pissing off like the extreme of your party. And so there's been like less incentive to compromise because you can't be seen compromising with the other side or close to the other side because of this polarization at the district level. So your individual incentive is to basically not compromise at all, even though, for the group as a whole, or maybe the country as a whole, it'd be better if there could be some compromise. And what's interesting about this is I've sort of like went through and I found some sort of like key changes. This is, I think, is a theme in like looking at some big broader change. It often boils down to there was like some change that nobody noticed that had all these unintended consequences. So a few of the key changes was in the early 70s, there was these like sunshine reforms. Have you heard of these sunshine reforms at all, Ariel?
I haven't.
Okay. So basically you could have there were like these secret votes, like you could have secret votes in Congress, like these committee votes and whatever, but the sunshine reforms made them all public. So now it's like your constituents can see if you are cooperating with the other side. So now they can find out. And then the other key one is, I didn't even know about this. I guess in 2000, there were no more earmarks, like earmarks were banned. So now I can't get the money that's been apportioned. Like the earmark is like, I can get it to go to my district. Now those earmarks are banned. So you can't like get it anymore. So there's there's like this horse trading can't go on where it's like, hey, I'll give you a vote if you hook me up with some funding for my district. So the incentive to do it, so you can't go back to your constituents and say like, hey, look, yeah, I had to compromise, but I got this for you. That goes away in 2011. And if maybe even if you still want to cooperate with the other side or like compromise with the other side, well, they used to not be able to know about that. Now they can know about that because of those sunshine laws. And there's this Boehner, it's like this Haspert law, that whatever norm that Boehner codified in the late 2000s, where if there's a minority of the majority that likes a law, that wants to cooperate with the other side and bring that law to the floor, they can't do that anymore. It has to be a majority of the majority. So it's like, even if I want to, I can't. My speaker won't let me. And if I do, my constituents can find out about it. And there's no reason to do it anymore because the earmarks have gone. So there's all these like little rule changes that have like basically nuked compromise in Congress, and that leads to this collective action problem where, okay, we'd like them to act, we'd like them to do something, but all their individual incentives are aligned to not do anything. All right. Anything else on the tariffs for now?
I mean, so the other part of the story is that only some of the tariffs would be suspended, right, with this ruling last week. So what it doesn't apply to is national security tariffs, which are steel and aluminum. So they've doubled this week to 50%. I don't know if you realize that this is, so there's multiple different tariffs with different authority provisions. So it's important to note that steel and aluminum tariffs are still a go, even if the others get overturned.
Because those are enacted.
I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. But my understanding is that they are still
investment advice, but buy your aluminum foil now. Stock up on aluminum foil for all your hats and whatnot.
Right. And so they're estimating it's an additional $300, say, for the whatever metal is going in your car that is additionally tariffed. And they're like, oh, well, that's not a large percentage of your car purchase. Right. This is the argument of steel unions. But studies on the 2018 increases that were much smaller suggest that for every one job that was protected for U.S. steel workers by the tariff, there were 75 related manufacturing jobs that were lost.
Because it's an input into
so many other manufacturing processes. So we don't typically make in the U.S. the particular type of aluminum that goes in tin cans or in tin goods. We make higher quality aluminum is my understanding, but not that particular kind. So they're not quite as interchangeable as you might think. And we don't make those kind of cans, or it affects something like the beer industry and the way that they're canning beer. It's affecting Pepsi and Coke and the way that they choose to can versus use plastic bottles or different size bottles for their products. And so those things are still happening. And then there's a poll recently that the Federal Reserve did that most companies have started increasing prices because of tariffs. So they've started ratcheting prices upwards, even within the first week that tariffs passed, because they have to figure out how to cover those costs. Right. So they said, hey, we're increasing prices. Some of them are increasing prices. About a third of them are the exact amount of the tariff, which suggests that,
inelastic demand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we don't have to get into that, but basically, the less price sensitive consumers are, the more that the supplier can pass on the tax to the consumer. So if you're not price sensitive, you're going to get hit with most of that tax will be paid by the consumer.
And my theory on that, just as a quick note, is that in the very short term, if they put the tariffs in and the price increase right away, it's really hard to switch suppliers for something really fast. So over time, they might have to be more competitive in price. But in the initial time period, I think they can pass it on because consumers don't have so much time to switch to a new product, depending on what it is, right? If it's a business input for your product that you're manufacturing, you're like, well, I don't have anything to sell if I don't have this input.
Yeah. And this is, again, another econ concept. Everything's more elastic in the long run, meaning people can adjust more in the long run. But in the short term, basically what you're saying is people are just going to have to eat the tariff that they'll be able to pass it on to the consumer, and the consumer won't have time in the short run to adjust. It's funny you say about the car thing too. It's like, if you look at all this uncertainty, all these potential tariffs, it's going to lead to most likely higher car prices. Now, that would mean that there'll be more people in the used car market. So that should push up the price of used cars. And it's just funny because my wife went in to get her car worked on at the dealer, and the dealer offered her more for her car than she bought it for. So it's like, she's like, what's going on? Like, as an economist, I was like, well, that tells us that they think that those new car prices are going to start going crazy. They want to stock up on used cars because they also think that market's going to go crazy. We'll see. I mean, we'll see if that happens. And the other thing that you pointed out with these aluminum and like the inputs, it's like, this is why, sometimes historic comparisons are useful. I think in the case of tariffs, like historic comparisons are completely whatever the opposite of useful is. I don't know. Not useful. I'm trying to think of a more negative word than not useful. Inane. Just because like it's the global economy now is just so much more interconnected than it was in like the 19th century or something. Like these production processes are so complex with like things going out. You ship something out, you ship something back in, and it's like the supply chain is so much more complex and is in so many different countries. And the production process that it's like, yeah, we can't really compare to, I don't know, like a cobbler in the 80s, like importing some leather or something like that and like just making the shoe in his shop. It's like, that's not really how it works anymore. So, and oftentimes we don't really understand how like whatever, we don't even realize how complex these things are, even like a simple good. All right. I think that's enough tariff talk. I feel like I talk way too much tariffs just in my own personal life with, people coming up to me and asking about it since they know I'm an economist and ostensibly I know a little bit about it. But just my general response in public to my friends is like, tariffs, economists don't like tariffs. Tariffs are bad. He would prefer lower to higher. All right. I guess that sound, Ariel. I don't know if you heard that. That sound means it's news quiz time. You have a news quiz for me.
I have a news quiz, Matt. 5 questions for you, and none of them are about tariffs.
Thank God. Okay. All right.
Okay. So to start us off, the Morning Brew reported that airlines are charging customers more to fly alone. Economists call charging different prices price discrimination. In this case, there's a volume discount for buying more. What degree of price discrimination is this, Matt? First, second, or third?
This is a second-degree price discrimination.
Yes. So do you want to explain a little bit about
second-degree price discrimination is where you get bulk discounts. So like you buy at Costco or something like that, like per unit, you're paying less. And if you buy less, if you say you buy a smaller amount, you buy the small ketchup bottle, you're paying more than if you buy the large ketchup bottle. We call that second-degree price discrimination. So if I'm flying alone, whatever, I'm buying 1 ticket. If I'm flying with, whatever, my wife and kid, I'm buying 3 tickets, and you're telling me I'm getting a discount. So I should take when I go to St. Louis for business in the middle of August, I should say, hey, honey, you want to go to St. Louis? We'll get cheaper tickets. St. Louis in August, tourist destination.
It will be cheaper per person, but your total spend will be higher than what it would be.
Yes, but cheaper per person.
Just for you.
Yeah. All right. 1 for 1.
Okay. Question number 2. What do the cities Dallas, Las Vegas, and Tampa have in common? So this is I'm going to give you some options here. This is a pick all that apply. Okay. A, they are in states with no income tax. B, they have NHL teams that have made it to the finals in the last 5 years. C, the cost of living is below the national average in each of these cities. Or D, they all have unemployment rates below 5%.
Okay, I'm going to go with they all definitely have no state income tax. I'm pretty sure on that. So we got Nevada. You said Tampa, Dallas, and Las Vegas. So that's Nevada, Texas, and Florida. No state income tax. NHL, I know the Golden Knights made the finals at some point. I believe they won the title for hockey. I don't know that much about hockey. Dallas, I think their team just got eliminated. So I don't think they might not have made the finals. What are the other ones? Cost of living?
Cost of living is below the national average.
I'm going to go no on that. I think Dallas and Vegas are maybe higher. And then the last one, the unemployment rate is lower than what, 5% you said? Or
5%.
I'm going to go that one is true. So I guess I'm going state income tax and low unemployment. No state income tax, no and low unemployment.
Okay, so you got one of 2. They are all in states with no income tax. But in all 3 of those cities, the teams have made it to the finals within the last 5 years. Oh, I don't know if
I missed that one. Sorry, I got to brush up on my hockey.
But Nevada has unemployment above 5%. So it's still down since they peaked in 2020 at 15% as an annual average. And then they've come down, but they're still at 5.6%. So they've had a struggling recovery for their
Right, because Vegas would have been hit really hard by the pandemic. So Vegas would have been hit super hard, right? Because you can't go anywhere, you can't social, whatever. And obviously Vegas is like entirely dependent on the entertainment economy. My brother, by the way, went to Vegas in the middle of the pandemic on vacation, and he was like, it was a hellscape because like, I think he went in like early 2021. And so like the people there, Like, and he stayed, like, I think at the Wynn, which is a nice hotel. It's just like the people that were willing to go to Vegas then were not the type of people you'd want to associate with. And so he was peer effects were low. All right. So, okay. So I didn't do.
So the interesting thing, though, is that this affects NHL free agency because that lack of state income tax is attracting players. The argument is that that is giving those teams in those cities an advantage to attract players and maintain their salary cap.
Okay. So basically, because there's no state income tax, they can get
no state income tax. So you only pay the federal 37% tax.
Do you know, yeah, sorry. But in basketball, so this is a thing in basketball too, where like the free agents might go through the no state income tax. But the way basketball works, I assume hockey is the same way, your tax is actually really complicated. Because if the game is played, like let's say I'm in Nevada, I play for there's no Nevada team, but if I play for the Dallas Mavericks, right, and then the basketball team, and I play in say Chicago, I have to pay tax on that when I play in Chicago. So I have to pay the Chicago state income tax when I play in Chicago. So I assume hockey's like that.
You do have to pay the jock tax. It's called a jock tax, where you play the game somewhere else and then you have to pay the tax. That's true. But it still is enough of a differentiating factor that they think that it's causing some players to choose strategically states with no federal income tax or no state income tax.
Yeah, I don't think there's been some speculation about this and that it matters in basketball, but it doesn't seem that much in terms of like free agent movement to matter that much in basketball. And it matters a little bit, but I don't think.
So do you think it matters? The article suggested it mattered that there are also Canadian teams. So the Canadian teams face higher income tax than the American teams.
This is cope from the Canadians for why they can't win at hockey. I don't know that much about hockey, but I know the Canadian teams like never win, right? And it's like the only thing Canadians care about. It's like they care about hockey and surf. No offense to our three Canadian
thought that
listeners.
The Toronto Maple Leafs were supposed to be decent at hockey, but I know nothing about
I'm
hockey.
pretty sure someone can correct this, but I'm pretty sure the Canadian team like hasn't won the Stanley Cup in like forever, and whatever is driving all the Canadians mad because they can't. It's like they're losing to like teams like Phoenix and like Vegas, which like obviously have like no history of hockey.
They're attracting the players by offering no state income tax.
So lower your taxes, Canada. No, I know. So this definitely mattered when there's only one Canadian team in the NBA, Toronto. But I definitely in the beginning when there was two Canadian teams, like players didn't want to play there. One, just because of cultural reasons, like they don't like Canada, and then two, yeah, because I think the tax situation was rough, and I think the currency situation was not as good. But yeah, I don't know. All right, move me to number 3.
Okay.
What's number 3?
We're completely changing gears here.
Okay.
How much?
Econ is everywhere. Econ's everywhere. That's the lesson. You hide. You can't hide from it. Also, a lot of it is unseen. So even if you were hiding, maybe you're part of the econ. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So how much of Germany's gold reserves are being held currently at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York?
Okay, so we have some. You're saying we have some German gold? Is this
we have German gold?
Are we guilty of holding Nazi gold? Ariel, is the U.S.
The U.S. is holding gold and has been holding on to a portion of Germany's gold since the Cold War.
Oh, all right, since the Cold. Okay, so we got some
post World War II. They put gold in New York to keep it from being taken by the Russians during Cold War.
Oh, they're worried they're worried the Ruskies were going to get their gold, so they gave us the gold.
The concern during the Cold War.
I assume that we have West German gold. I assume the East Germans were like, couldn't give us the gold, so the West Germans were like, can you keep this for us? Can you hold on to this? This is kind of like
bring it back to Germany because they've never moved it, so it's still a service that the Federal Reserve Bank of New York offers to foreign banks, and I believe the IMF has some gold there, but the Federal Reserve Bank of New York does not have gold in its gold reserves, in its gold vaults. Only foreign entities.
Okay. All right. So they don't have any of our gold. They just have foreign entities'
because
gold.
The Treasury owns all of our gold in the U.S. So the Federal Reserve.
That's all in Fort Knox. I remember there was a dust up earlier this year. Was it still in Fort Knox? I don't know if anybody got to the bottom of it. Did we know it's
that? But
this sounds like a movie, by the way. Like
not our own in New York.
Like this, there could be a movie where it's like, there's a heist, right? We heist the Federal Reserve. And then it's like, we become heroes because it was all foreigners' gold. We didn't steal from any of you. We didn't steal from us. We stole all the foreign gold. We're just expropriating that gold. Anyways, okay. So what percent is in The Federal Reserve Vault is the question of German gold. I'm going to go 10%. We have 10% of the gold. You should give me an over under. But yeah,
Okay,
10%.
well, I had fractions for you, but I guess
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. I jumped
okay.
the gun. I jumped the gun.
So,
Okay,
so
give me
you
the
can
fraction.
get 1/5, 1/4, 1/3, or 1/2 of Germany's gold supply.
Okay, so they're all above what I said. So let's ignore that I got it wrong. I'm gonna go with a third. I'm gonna go with the standard multiple choice and sort of guess the middle one. I'll go a third.
You are correct on your second guess. This is
Nice.
it is 1/3 of Germany's gold is currently in the New York Federal Reserve Bank. So now there's a party in Germany that's really pressing to get it back into Germany.
They're scared. The U.S. no longer you can't trust them with their gold anymore. This is whatever the index is. The interest rates going up, which is the saying the bond people don't trust the U.S. government anymore, and the Germans want their gold back. Okay, all right, that's fun. All right, next question.
Next up is what has happened to demand for summer rentals in the Hamptons compared to last year? So, is it down 50%, down 30% compared to last year, or up 30% or up 50% compared to last year? So what do you think has happened to demand for rentals in the Hamptons?
Yeah, well, I know I had to cancel my usual Hampton vacation because I have to go to St. Louis, as I said earlier. So I've chosen to summer elsewhere. So I'm gonna go down 50% same time. I'm gonna go down 30%.
You're spot on, Matt. So it's down 30%. People are holding off on their Hamptons vacation rentals. And this does bring us a little bit back to tariffs in that the people who are the big high rolling spenders at the Hamptons are spooked about tariffs potentially.
So they're spooked about tariffs. So they're not going on vacation, I guess. That's the punchline, or
they're not booking them. I think they're planning.
Oh, they're waiting.
They're waiting and holding out.
Okay. All right.
So there's a lot of inventory. So
maybe you can get a good deal
on a place.
Have you been to the Hamptons, Ariel? I've never been. I know it's like a fancy East Coast thing. I'm from the West Coast, so I don't know anything other than
there's no
East Coast.
surfing, Matt. So I don't know if it's for you.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife and I trying to go on vacation in a few weeks. I keep pushing surfing destinations and I keep getting shut down. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Last question.
Okay,
I think I'm killing it, by the way.
This is an opinion question. So there's not a right answer because we don't have a verdict yet on this one.
All right. Okay.
Is AI a search engine? Do you use an AI?
I use AI as a search engine?
Yes.
I would say I'm more often using it as a search engine, but my search engine needs are limited. So I don't. Yeah. I mean, it is. You can turn the search on. Like there's like a button in ChatGPT where you can turn the search on. Yeah. I don't know. Is it a search? Yeah. I don't know. I guess so. I guess I'd say I'm 50-50 between ChatGPT and Google for like what I used to Google search for.
So Google really wants you to say yes because they've got a monopoly case in court. And so on Friday, about almost a week ago, Judge Mehta asked
is it fair that Meta is judging Google? I don't.
You know how
I'm sure I'm the first person to make that joke.
I know. So he asked the FTC. I think it's FTC. No, it's DOJ. Hang on. Anyways, whoever the federal side of this asked, should AI be considered in the search market? So if you include ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all of that as part of search market, Google doesn't have a monopoly. The market has stepped in to undermine Google's dominance for search. But
one's at my front door. Sorry. Go ahead.
If you exclude them from the market, Google tends to have all of the search traffic. So it depends on your market definition.
Just to give some background, the government's going after Google because they're a monopoly. So the government's like, Google, you're a monopoly in search. And so if Google can credibly say, hey, we're not a monopoly in search. Everyone's using ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatnot, Claude. All right. Yeah, it's sort of funny how the government always goes after these companies that I think you could say are monopolies right as their monopoly is ending. So they went after Standard Oil famously way back in the day, right as Standard Oil's monopoly was on the wane. They go after Microsoft. When I was a kid, they go after Microsoft. Microsoft had basically a monopoly on operating systems and computer operating systems, right as Apple was rising again. And now they're going after Google right when the Google killer OpenAI came out. All right. Hold on. Okay. I guess. Oh, so I got what? I guess I got three out of four plus the
Oh, I
opinion.
could have written your score down.
I missed the Las Vegas one.
You missed the
I
last
think I got 3 out of 4. Listeners, let me know how you did. Let us know how you did in the chat or in the comments, wherever you're consuming this. All right, that sound means it's time to play The Price is Right ? This is where Ariel and I investigate prices. So I have a question for you, Ariel. We're gonna be talking about Trader Joe's today. Why are Trader Joe's prices so low? There was a survey done that asked, it was like consumer sentiment survey, like what companies, what brands do consumers have a favorable sentiment or unfavorable sentiment towards? Do you want to guess where Trader Joe's ranked on the 2025 survey?
They might be number one.
They are indeed number one. Ding, 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 ding. Other companies in the top 10, Patagonia, aforementioned Microsoft, surprisingly. I don't know why people like Microsoft so much. Toyota, Costco, Samsung, Arizona Beverage Company, because they never raised their prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sweet tea.
I like the state.
Yeah, Arizona as a state. People I think I suspect people will be a little more mixed on that one. NVIDIA, UPS, and Apple rounding out the top 10. The bottom, the 100th. Well, you want to guess the lowest? The 100th rank one, the lowest one.
What if people know well enough?
I'll give you a clue. It's an airline.
United.
Spirit. Come on.
Spirit. Okay.
My favorite thing to ask my students when we inevitably talk about Spirit is I say, how many people have flown Spirit? And people raise their hands. And then I say, how many people have flown Spirit twice? And hands go down.
All right. Count it if you've flown a round trip ticket on Spirit, because I have flown back
once. I would count a round trip, but I've flown Spirit once, and I got stranded in Fort Lauderdale for like 2 days once. So that was my one experience.
I flew with 2 kids to Indianapolis and back, round trip, all 3 of us, and 1 checked bag for a grand total of $300 from New York.
I mean, you can't beat the price. It's just you might not get there in one piece. Oh, you get there in one piece. It just might take a while. You might have various layovers. All right, Trader Joe's, famously low prices, high quality, I'd say. People like the quality. Why is the price so low? So we'll do our investigation. So Ariel, what did you find? Why are Trader Joe's prices so low?
One thing I found is that they really minimize their inventory. So their SKUs, if an average grocery store has something like 30,000 different SKUs, which means different items.
What's a SKU?
Like a SKU is like that little barcode, the little number on the back of an item, right? So you're ringing something up. 30,000.
So it's just like the amount of stuff you have.
The amount of stuff they have is about 3,000 compared to 30,000. So they are really streamlining the products that they offer. Mostly this is by not offering 5 different kinds of ketchup. You can just buy the Trader Joe's ketchup, and that's it. You don't get Heinz and Hunt's in 5 different sizes. You've got 1 ketchup bottle. That's it. That's your one item. This one allows them to really streamline their inventory process. So they have a lot of things they have less waste because things aren't just sitting around that they then have to sell off at bargain bin prices at the end. But also it allows them to have smaller store footprints, which is going to decrease the amount of rent that they need to pay, right? And ease management of like stocking all of your inventory. So one of their key advantages, I think, is this really streamlined inventory management.
Yeah. So basically what it does is, so they're not going to have any bulky items. It's going to be kind of like a one size. So they're not going to have like paper towels, which are probably, you don't make much money on paper towels, like taking up all the space.
I think they do have individual rolls of paper towels. They don't go the Costco route that you can buy.
You can buy like a massive one?
packs of paper towels. And
I would say maybe in California, I've never seen paper towels because I actually always have to buy them because I play poker in a warehouse next to a Trader Joe's. And when I'm preparing for poker, I should pick up some paper towels, and they are never there anyways. But so they don't have any bulky items. And then they're just okay not having certain stuff. Like they're okay, like, hey, we're not going to have certain stuff. We're going to focus on what we're going to focus on. And like you said, they'll have just one of the thing. They'll just have one ketchup brand, and they'll cut out the middleman. So they're buying directly from the supplier. What I found, which I was shocked by, is it's secret, like who their suppliers are. There's like strict like confidentiality agreements. Like you can't find out who it is. Because what they do is they're since they just have one supplier, they're going to buy in bulk. They're going to cut out the middleman. And so they get really, really low costs on what they buy. Oftentimes that same supplier is supplying to Whole Foods or some other grocery store at like 3x the price. So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say people love their sunscreen, right? And so their face sunscreen last year, there was a lot of drama about was Supergoop supplying their face sunscreen that everybody liked, right? Which would be a significant difference from just the way that they sell it themselves. I think it's $30 a bottle or something, and it's, I don't know, $6 or $10 at Trader Joe's. So it's a substantial difference in markup.
Sorry, you have to excuse me. Supergoop, is that some famous sunscreen or something?
Yes.
Viewers can tell from my wrinkles I'm not familiar with sunscreen.
Surfers famously reject the sunscreen.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I'll use it occasionally, but I definitely use less than I should. Anyways, nobody cares about my sunscreen habits. Anyways, Supergoop is a famous sunscreen. Is that what you're telling me? Or some luxury sunscreen?
Like a hot ticket skincare sunscreen. So maybe this is women who care about their skin in New York were oohing and awing over the sunscreen.
Okay, but you could get it at Trader Joe's. Was the Trader Joe's one Supergoop?
So
did they ever find out?
They never found out, right? This is the secret.
Yeah.
They never found out.
Yeah, so I looked into this because, like, come on, it can't. You have to be able to find out, but apparently it's actually really hard to find out because basically, if you're the supplier, you don't want other people knowing that you could get the same thing at Trader Joe's for way less. Obviously, Trader Joe's is getting a good deal. They don't want to blow up their spot. Yeah, so basically, what you're saying is like basically Trader Joe's does everything they can to bring the cost down. So they're buying in bulk. They're not going to have variety. They're not going to have name brand, and they just make everything very simple from them from an operational standpoint too. There's no deli. There's no bakery. There's no like fish place where you get the fish, the guy cuts up the fish for you. There's no there's no coupons or anything like that. Like it's just like this is so it's sort of like a basic, sort of like a budget model. But what's weird is Trader Joe's is kind of a higher end brand. And I looked into the history of it. Apparently, because this is the founder, Joe Colombe. Like when he was starting out, he saw two trends: that the US was getting more educated. And people were traveling more. And so he was like, I'm going to do a brand for like people who are getting educated, traveling around the world. So we're going to do more international, like, Trader Joe has all their like famous brands from all over the world. So he's like, I'm going to do, something that appeals to educated people that's from all over the world. And also they'll locate the stores in sort of places where people in their mid 20s are, because what they want is like, they want the educated person who's still like budget conscious. They don't want families. Like they don't cater to families, because if you're a family, you got to buy all this stuff. Like you have to be able to buy the paper towels. You have to be able to buy it bulk. So they're sort of deliberately, since they have smaller stores, they don't have all this stuff. They're sort of catering to this like mid 20s niche, or at least around here. They're definitely located in sort of like where the college educated people are, but not as family, not as family, whatever, where the families are. Yeah. So it just seems like they're maniacal with their costs. Is what I would chalk it up to. I don't know if there's anything else that you found, Ariel.
I mean, I think the other thing, and I didn't actually find this somewhere, this is just my own hypothesis, is because they build such a brand loyalty around the things that they have, and especially the seasonal items, that they really draw people in to get the like candy cane JoJo's. I don't know if so. You say they don't cater to families, and it's true. They don't have, like some of the products that like my kids want in the store. But at the same time, their snacks are cheap, and families go through a lot of snacks. And they, all the kids love these, exciting new flavors that come out, particularly around the holidays. So the candy cane JoJo's or the pumpkin spice, whatever that comes in the fall, right? So they come out with these things. And I think that brings in, like, they have developed a very loyal fan base.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't think people have the same loyalty to, Lion.
But I think part of that loyalty, usually if you have a loyal fan base, you can actually raise prices. But I think part of that loyalty is built on the low prices. And so it's like, it's part of their brand aesthetic is they have low prices. As to why other supermarkets can't do this, it's just, their supermarkets are sort of trying to be everything to everyone. They have their sort of thing is that they carry brands. They have these like longstanding brand arrangements where you got to, there's Coke. You can't get Coke at Trader Joe's. The closest thing to a Trader Joe's apparently is Aldi, which is basically targeting the lower end of the income spectrum, where Trader Joe's is more targeted toward the higher end, but they're both sort of maniacal on costs, getting those costs down. And the store footprint at Aldi is similar to the store footprint at Trader Joe's. Interestingly, they are owned by the same company, or they're owned by the same family, but sort of operated completely. It seems like what I was able to do is research-wise, it seems like they're operated by two brothers, I guess. But anyways,
I believe the brothers had a fight, but I
they
always
had a fight. It's do brothers in the same business ever not have a fight? That's my question. So it's always they're always at each other's throats. Brothers, it seems like, if they're trying to run a business. All right, so I think we solved it. Yeah, they're good on cost. Shout out to Trader Joe's. All right, that music, Ariel. We're close to the end of the podcast where we do our consumer surplus, deadweight loss, things that are bringing us consumer surplus, things that are causing us deadweight loss in the week. My deadweight loss for this week is, I don't know if you heard about this, the taco trade. Ariel, did you hear about the taco trade? You know about the taco trade?
You're talking about the tariff taco acronym, correct?
Yes. Trump always chickens out. So this was coined by a Bloomberg columnist, I believe. And what it's about is, like, Trump always says there's going to be tariffs, and then he backs off the tariffs. All right. So that's the idea. And so apparently Wall Street investors, whatever, they were talking about this taco trade. Somebody asked the president about it. He got really mad. So my deadweight loss is like, look, guys, you want to talk about the taco trade? You want to do the taco trade? Don't ask him about it. The one way he's going to not chicken out is if you ask him about it. Like, you keep it to yourselves. So I'm deadweight loss with whoever asked him about it, whoever brought it to his attention. This is definitely the one way to stop him from chickening out is to tell him about it's like you don't call someone a chicken unless you want them to do the thing. So you guys blew up the taco trade by naming it and talking about it, right? First rule about Fight Club, first rule about taco trade, don't talk about the taco trade. So anyways, and again, I guess we're just to give a background, we're just anti-tariff here on the podcast. What else, Ariel? You got any consumer surplus, deadweight loss?
My consumer surplus is also about the taco trade. So Jadrian Wooten had a taco article, Tariffs Are Costly Options. Did a great job explaining deadweight loss, which I feel like, can be overcomplicated, but is essentially we lose out when we pay more for things. So there are trades that don't happen. And when we switch to producers that are more expensive, then we are lowering production in other areas where we have more comparative advantage. So my consumer surplus of the week was a great explanation of deadweight loss.
By Jadrian Wooten.
Yes.
Check out his Substack, Monday Morning Economist, I believe is what it's called, right?
Yes.
Something like that. Any more consumer surplus, deadweight loss, Ariel?
Well, there was a great article in the Wall Street Journal on the differing elasticities of chocolate between US and Europeans. But unfortunately, it was paywalled. So I didn't wind up putting it in this week's newsletter. But I did find it really interesting that
we should mention, you can find all the articles that we talk about in our weekly newsletter from our Substack, which is Econ Nerds, right? Econ
Nerds. Yes,
Substack.
is at Econ Nerds. And so this one didn't make the cut because I was worried about the paywall. But take a guess, Matt.
Sorry, I'm running out of batteries here, so I'm looking for my cord. But yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
Or Europeans, who has a more elastic demand for chocolate?
More elastic?
Which one is more elastic?
Okay, go ahead.
No, you're supposed to take a guess.
Which of the European countries?
Nope. US or
US.
European?
Sorry.
Who is more elastic?
Okay, so more elastic means they are more price sensitive. So they're more sensitive to price changes between the US and Europe.
Mm-hmm. For chocolate specifically.
Man, for chocolate, I'm going to go the US is less elastic. So the US loves their chocolate. That's what I would say. Am I right or wrong?
You are wrong. So Europeans value their high cocoa chocolate and tend to kind of just eat little bits and pieces and put it on their grocery list and buy it. They are less price sensitive. They seem to habitually buy chocolate.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Still love it.
Americans seem to like impulse buy chocolate at the counter, right? At the, your convenience store. And so they will switch to something else. They're more price sensitive on the chocolate. They just want some sort of like sweet treat when they're looking for it. So,
all right, very nice. So our final segment, economics in the wild. This is economics from our home life, anything that's been going on. So Ariel, what I wanted to tell you about is, have you ever been to Harry Potter World in like Universal Studios?
I have been. It was a great trip. I usually had my husband's work had a private access. So I did not have to pay. I did not have to wait in line.
Money bags over there going to, okay, fancy town. Did you go to the Orlando one or the Hollywood one?
Orlando.
Okay, so that one's supposed to be bigger, right, than the Hollywood one?
I haven't looked into going to the California one, so I'm
I
not
think it's
sure.
bigger and better than the Hollywood one. The Hollywood one's a little limited in square footage. Anyways, I took my kid there on Tuesday. He had a very serious doctor's appointment. If anybody from the school asks, by the way, another whatever econ life hack. If your kid can read and do math, I think it's fair game to take them out of school at any time from first grade to fifth grade. Right? That's all they learn is reading and math. So if your kid can, I think it's fine to take them to Universal Studios. So take them to Universal Studios, right? They have this thing there at the Harry Potter world where you go into Ollivanders, which is like where they like. That it's the wand shop. It's where the wand chooses you, I guess, is how it works in the book. And what they do is they bring like 20 people in, and then they have the like wand guy, and he's like, he walks around, he's like, I feel some magic. I feel some magic from someone in this room, right? And he picks a kid to go forward, and then they do a whole thing where the kid's trying out different wands, they're trying out magic spells. The room is like rigged up so like plants can like move, and like ladders can move, and books can move. So the kid tries out different wands. The wands work or don't work, and then finally, the third wand works. It's a whole big production where if you're going there and you don't get chosen, it's fun to see. Hey, that's fun. We go see this guy get a wand. Then if you're the kid that gets chosen, you're like, you got to buy the wand. Like basically, it's like they don't give you the wand. It's like, hey, by the way, because in the books, Harry Potter buys the wand. So they're like, hey, look, it's just like the book. You gotta buy the wand, Dad, right? And to me, this was just like an ingenious way of shifting the demand curve, because like, all right, like, if it's $60 for a wand, right? I'm not going to buy a wand. I'm not for $60, right? But if I go through this thing, my kid has this whole experience, right? Where the guy says he's magic. He goes up there. It's like a 5-minute thing. The wand chooses him. Oh, it's a special wand. Now, all of a sudden, as a parent, my demand curve has moved way out. All right, I need to get this wand so the kid remembers the wand. And so it's just an ingenious way of like shifting that demand curve out, basically tying a product to an experience. And then you could think of like another way they could have done this is you just pay $80 or whatever, and you could do this whole thing, right? But now that would only get the people that are willing to pay $80. What they're doing is they're transforming people who were only willing to pay $20 for a wand into people who are willing to pay, $80 or more. So as an economist, I was watching, I was like, oh, this is just like a genius marketing, whatever, getting people to buy wands. But also, I'm not complaining because I'm an economist. I know it's not a zero-sum world. Win-win. It can be a win transaction. Like now I have a great memory. My kid has, because by the way, we did this thing 3 times till my kid got chosen, right? And so that's another thing. Like if people really want to get chosen, they just do it again and again until the kid gets chosen, right? But now I have this great memory with him. Like I took a video of the whole thing. So I got a 5-minute video of him doing the whole wand ceremony, right? He's got his wand that he's like obsessed with now, that he's doing the stuff in the mirror. That's like, so look, it can be both win. They can sell me a wand that probably cost $3 to make for $60. They can win right there. And I can win because I can have, look, I paid $60, but hey, a great memory. That's well worth it. So anyways, shout out to the wand shop, Ollivanders at Harry Potter. Universal Studios, by the way, super fun, just in general. Any econ in the wild for you, Ariel?
What they cost on Amazon, man.
Is it the same wand though? Because it has, that's another thing. They do the thing where once you get the wand, it like activates things like at Harry Potter land. Like you walk around.
Well, I don't think it's the same one. I think there are things that you could do. It changes your experience throughout the park.
Yeah. I should add that's another thing that they're very good at relative to when I was a kid, is like they're making these amusement parks much more experiential, where it's like, so yeah, my kid gets the wand, right? And then there's all these things he can do with the wand at Harry Potter land. Like he can go cast spells and actually things move. Like he was like, make this chimney light. Like it's crazy. He like does the little wand thing and this chimney lights up, right? Like that's just super cool. And so yeah, it's there's also that experience. So it's like they have this experience where they get it, and then it ties to all these other experiences too. So why? How much is it on Amazon?
I paid $7 for my daughter's Hermione Granger wand for Halloween this past year.
Does it work though? Does it work with the thing?
Does it light up?
It lights up, but does it work could you take it to Universal and activate these things with it?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I could not. I don't know. But it has batteries, it lights up. She can say Lumos and it illuminates.
That's the beauty of competition. You can get it for $7. I can get it for $60. We can both be happy about it. Although I would say the ceremony, the Amazon ceremony, not as good. Oh, I'm about to click, put in the card. It's going to the carts. Okay, now it's being manufactured in Shenzhen and then put on a cargo ship here. Which is, I'm sure, also how my wand got here, but There was at least mine, there was a whatever magician involved.
It did not come with an experience, but it made for a good Halloween.
You saved $53. You're $53 richer than me. All right. Well, that's all our time for today. What do we say at the end? May all your surpluses be maximized out there in the world. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.